Hi there everyone, and welcome to my first battle report for 2.0. Quick disclaimer, this is using the rules work in progress, so there may still be changes before they are released coming up to Christmas. The game I've got in store for you is against a regular opponent of mine, McRae. He's gone back to his trusty dwarves for this game. He's only seen the 2.0 rules just an hour or so prior to our game, so he's pretty much gone with the tried and true of his army style, but he has taken advantage of some changes in points and just trying to get some of the combos that he's enjoyed in previous editions of the game. So if you haven't seen McRae's army in action before, he really loves an MSU flavour with good shooting and just the ability to spring nasty surprises. So favourite units of his, the organ gun, he loves the units of miners, the steam copters, and the vengeance seekers especially. He's taken advantage of some small changes in the rules to get a grudge buster in there and upgrade his copters into bombers. He's also trying out the ballista, which has got a few new rules, and the flame cannon. So overall it will be an interesting list for me to face. The vengeance seekers are annoying, the flyers are all annoying, the miners are annoying, the rangers are annoying, and then there's that big block of 40 warriors, which for my Sylvan Elves will prove a little bit difficult to take down, but we'll see how we go. We've gone quite well against McRae in recent times, so not feeling too bad about this matchup. It's a familiar style that I've played against many times, and we'll see how we go. So moving on to my list, I've got my Sylvan Elves. We've tried a few different variations through playtesting, and have decided to end up going with something that's fairly similar to what I've been playing in 1.3 with a few key changes. So we've got a Pathfinder Chieftain as our general with the new Bow of Wiskin. Nice threat to some of those higher toughness things that are running around. Gone with 2 druids rather than the 2 matriarchs that I was running in 1.3. Nice combination of the shamanism, 2 spells there, 2 spells in cosmology, and the wand of the dabbler also gives me my hereditary spell for free. Well, not for free, for the cost of the wand. So we've got 5 spells there. With the way magic's working, the opportunity to have 2 magic missiles, possibly a 3rd if I want to take the second option from cosmology. And then we've got the movement spell and a couple of buffs, so a pretty flexible magic phase there. The tried and true scoring options that I've always enjoyed with the 2 units of dryads. I see one of them there's missing a letter. 2 units of archers, taking advantage of the new Sylvan bows to try out a unit I have not used for a long time. Heath Riders are making a comeback now. They're going to be a lot more useful with their shooting, provide a great chaff option, and they can just harass with their speed around the field as well. Another option here with the upgrade to our bows. I've got bows on my kestrels rather than shields. Gone for my Blade Dancer star, I guess, with the Banner of Speed and the BSB in there with the Distracting Spear, unit that I've really enjoyed in the past. Next change there, the 10 Sentinels. Really like what the changes have done for these guys. Poison shooting, poison in combat, and they've still got the Sylvan bow as well, so the strength 4 and AP 1 at short range, and still got the AP at long range. So yeah, really useful for some of the things that are quite difficult for us to manage, those higher toughness monsters and characters with decent toughness. And then last but not least, the 2 Tree Fathers that I just really struggle to play without now. They are the key to my army style, along with the kestrels, really. So that's the list. I'm not bringing in too many of the new things, but hopefully you'll get to see enough to hopefully be excited about some of the things ahead of us. So moving on to the finer details of our battle. So we're just playing a regular battle line, frontline clash. With it being brand new to McRae, we thought we'd keep it reasonably simple there. We rolled for our secondary objective, and we've got the secure target, which you can see one of my tokens there just on the left hand side of the screen. So in Magic, my Cosmology Mage has gone for both of the Magic missiles. Ice and Fire is fantastic now with its upgrade. Touch of the Heart is quite useful, potentially key to get the last wound off a Grudge Buster or a Bomber, possibly characters as well if they're running around being a nuisance. And then Shamanism, two spells that I just love really. Swarm of Insects and Awaken the Beast provide so many opportunities there. You can see the casting values have changed a little bit on some of those spells, and we also have our racial spell. For McRae, he's gone for 6 bound spells. He's got 2 Ruins of Resolve, 2 Ruins of Gleaming, and 2 Ruins of Reckoning. So from memory, he's got double magical move, double distracting, and double rerolls to hit. Yeah, bound magic phase is quite a powerful thing I'm finding through playtesting. So I won the roll-off to pick sides, and McRae gave me the dubious honour of deploying first. I don't normally like to show my hand too early, especially against a army that's quite mobile like his is, but also I'm really trying to find out where the opponent is going and try and outmaneuver them, and if you show your hand too early, that can backfire a bit on you. So I traded drops 1 for 1 until we got to the point of, I think I was going to have +5 on my roll, and ended up with my deployment looking like this. So from left to right, we've got our Kestrels and Heath Riders right up on the 12-inch line. They can vanguard, back away. The Archer unit was deployed later on. They are out of range of being shot very easily from anything on that side. The 2 Dryad units there were early drops, just waiting for McRae to show me a little bit of where his army was going, as was that Tree Father there. And then moving across to the right, you can see I've put a unit of archers there by the wall. Thinking was that with a side shuffle they can shoot the organ gun you can see in the distance, and the sentinels have potentially got the range and movement to get into range to shoot that organ gun as well. Once I saw that go down, that was my first plan. Need to take that down. As long as that is alive, it is a very risky thing to advance on him. So would hopefully can take that out within the first turn or 2. And then right across on the right hand side, we've got our other Tree Father and our Blade Dancers. They were both reasonably early drops again, trying to see where things were going. And then the Kestrels, they were quite an early drop as well, just sort of spreading myself across the table a bit to hopefully get a bit of a sight of where he was going with his army before we committed too much. So as I said, I finished with 5 drops before him, which meant he was able to respond a little bit to my deployment. He's got a unit of his core warriors there for scoring on the far left hand side, a bomber tucked in behind the forest along with a Vengeance Seeker. In the forest there is our flame cannon. Yeah, every time I see somebody deploy in the woods now, I get a little disappointed that I can't use Tree Singing to nuke them anymore with some strength 5 hits, but never mind, we will make the most of what we've got. Next to that is his big block of 40 spearmen. Across from that we've got the organ gun that I mentioned before, a unit of crossbows I think it is, Grudge Buster on the hill, Vengeance Seeker just in behind the hill, and then over on the far right hand side we have got another unit there of Scoring Corps I think they are, and another bomber in behind the building. Of interest there you can see his 3 scouting units. He has a scouting ballista and 2 units of rangers and on top of the building is his two ambushing units of miners. So lots and lots of good options for him in special deployment there. As we go on to Vanguard, he vanguards his big unit of 40 spearmen straight up the middle there. It's got his 3 characters in there as well. That is a nasty unit, and to be sitting on the halfway mark before the game starts is an issue for me. I in turn don't really move the Kestrels and the Heath Riders on the left hand side too much. Thought about pushing them forward, but I thought just my luck, I'll push forward and then he'll win the roll off. He'll take first turn and they will just cop a face full of shooting and depart this world before they've really served their purpose. And then on the right hand side, the other Kestrel unit, they vanguard across, ready to be able to shoot at the Rangers who had scouted into that corner. A little bit careless on my part there. I left them about half an inch, just enough room to fit in there. Yeah, if I'd been half an inch across further, they wouldn't have been able to fit in. So that was, yeah, rather careless on my part. So I did win the roll and took first turn. So turn 1, Sylvan Elves. So turn 1, as I said, I really wanted to take that organ gun down. I was hopeful if I could get that down, then hopefully then I could advance and apply a bit of pressure. So the Tree Father and the Blade Dancers move forward on the right hand side of the hill there. Looking at this stage of pushing around that hill and coming from that right hand side. Over to the left hand side of the board, the Heath Riders sacrifice themselves as chaff for that big block so that my archer units can stand there and shoot at the organ gun. The volley fire rule on them and the quick to fire means that both those archer units can shoot at the organ gun with just a long range penalty, which is rather handy. The Tree Father is there to hopefully countercharge the block once they destroy the Heath Riders. And then right on that left hand side, the Kestrels just get ready to shoot the core warriors that are on that left hand board edge. Maybe we can get a lucky panic or just whittle them down enough. Both the scoring markers are on that side, so ideally we need to take out that scoring unit just so that we don't give up the scenario objective without a fight. And that brings us on to Magic. In Magic we roll up Flux card 6. So card 6 gives me and McRae both 6 Magic dice, and I get 5 Veil tokens as well, plus 2 for the siphoning, 1 from each druid. Means that I'm able to have an 8/6 magic phase and keep a token for next turn. So in our magic phase, we start off with a ice and fire with 4 dice, and he throws all his dice to stop that. We're then able to use Swarm Vinsex on his organ gun, and we're able to pick a couple of wounds, I think, there. Yeah, rolled reasonably well with 17 hits, getting 2 wounds through, and then we managed to get Mistwalker off as well on the archers just to give them the 5-up Aegis save, or ward save for those of you who are still used to the old terminology, just in case the archers become a target for his shooting in return. So all in all, not a bad magic phase, get 2 spells off, do some wounds on that organ gun. Hopefully now we've got a chance to shoot it off. So we go on to shooting. So starting with the Kestrels in the corner there on the Rangers, managed to kill 2 off with our 3 shots, which is reasonably handy. In shooting on the organ gun though, we are only able to inflict 1 more wound. Was really hopeful that I might roll up a couple of poisons, maybe inflict a wound or 2 with the Bow of Wiskin on my Pathfinder, and then of course I had the regular arch unit as well. So all that shooting only to get the 1 wound through. Yeah, a little bit disappointing. I was hoping I might do a little bit better than that. We also managed to shoot off a couple of the clan warriors on the left hand side with our other Kestrel unit, and I think we also killed a couple of spearmen with the Heath Riders moving forward in front of them to shoot as well. So overall, not a bad shooting phase, I guess. Not getting rid of that organ gun though is a bit of a problem, as now we're going to have to deal with that again next turn, and potentially we're going to cop some shooting from it as well. So that moves us on to Dwarven Hold's turn 1. So Dwarven Hold's turn 1, he charges the Heath Riders. The change to quick to fire means that I'm unable to stand and shoot now. You need to be outside of the movement phase to be able to do that. So he charges those nasty dwarves into my Heath Riders. Good night to them. The rangers in the corner there that scouted in, they just turn around to shoot my Kestrels in return. And otherwise he pretty much just moves forward. The Grudgebuster and the Vengeance Seeker come over the hill. The clan warriors that were behind the building just maneuver forward. Back over on the right hand side, the bomber comes from behind the building and is going to shoot my Kestrels in the back. Speaking of the buildings, we're playing them as impassable in this game. There are new rules for garrisoning buildings, but as I say, McRae only got to have a quick look at the rules just before we started this game, so we thought we'd keep most things reasonably simple and just, you know, kind of slowly introduce some of these new rules to him. So we move on to his magic phase. He rolled up Flux card 3, which gave him and I both 5 magic dice. He also got 5 Veil tokens, so he was able to cash those in for 2 extra dice, thanks to channeling 2 as well. On his magic phase, he got off rerolls to hit on his Spearman unit, and then I stopped him from casting his magical move twice. So yeah, reasonably happy that he only got the 1 spell off. In shooting, he picks off a sentinel and a couple of archers from shooting, and I think that was it. I made a few pretty useful saves during that phase. I was fairly happy with the saves I was making. He failed to wound my Kestrels in the other corner, which was also rather nice. And we move on into combat, and well, as expected, the Heath Riders get absolutely slaughtered. We don't manage to even inflict 1 wound before we die. And then he reforms in horde formation. So as you can see, that's no longer 10 wide. He's gone with 9 wide by the looks of that, but I believe 8 is the magic number if you want to have horde formation now. And that brings us on to Sylvan Elves turn 2. So turn 2, we make 1 charge. The Kestrels go into the rangers that are in that corner there. Hopefully between the charge bonus and the stomps we will make short work of them. In remaining moves on the left hand side, the Kestrels drop back. Might as well make use of their shooting. Thought about pushing forward and maybe hugging the building there, but really nothing but pain is going to come from sticking my nose out there and having the organ gun and the flame cannon shooting me, so we'll just pick off some of those scoring core warriors there for a little bit longer. The Dryads just maneuver themselves a little bit, ready to keep those dwarves away from that secondary. The Treefather moves over in front of the Spearman block so that they won't be able to charge my archers. The archers and the sentinels both just drop back enough that they can continue to shoot. Particularly the sentinels need to be able to shoot the organ gun. Unfortunately, we're no longer in range to magic missile it. Hasn't got a lot of wounds left though, so hopefully we can still take that out. And on the right hand side, the Blade Dancers move forward. They're still in the wood there. Bit of a mistake here, I think. Now that copter can just, the bomber can just fly over and drop bombs on me, and that's going to hurt next turn. The Treefather, he got a bit distracted here, ran over to start shooting at the copter. He was never going to kill it, so I'm not sure that was the best option. Possibly he needed to go up on the hill and start threatening a few things, but I'm just so wary of dwarven shooting with the ballista, the organ gun, the flame cannon. There's just so many nasty things there. I really didn't want to push forward. And so that takes us on to Magic. In Magic we got Flux card 3, which is the 5 magic dice each, as well as 5 Veil tokens. So with the bonus one that I had before and the 2 that I get, I'm able to cash in my tokens for 2 more magic dice and carry 2 tokens over for my next magic phase. So the first thing we went for was our magical move on the archers, again giving them a ward save, and he let that go through. Then tried the boosted Swarm of Insects on the organ gun, which he threw all his dice at to stop, and then we tried for a +1 toughness on the Tree Father, which we failed to cast. So that was the end of Magic, and we went on to Shooting. In Shooting, the Tree Father on the right hand side managed to inflict a wound on the bomber there. Yeah, 1 wound isn't really going to scare him, unfortunately. The Kestrels on the far left hand side managed to kill off another warrior. In the center, the Tree Father kills off a couple of the spearmen. That brings us on to combat. Oh, hang on, there's something missing here, something very critical, I believe. In Shooting, I'm pretty sure we destroyed the organ gun, but I can't find a photo to prove it, but I think that is what we managed to pull off. And then in combat, we do manage to break the Rangers. We didn't kill them, but they lost combat. They did do 1 wound to us, and then they ran off the table. And we pursued, and now we are off the board, so at least the bomber can't shoot us or fly over and drop bombs on us. And takes us on to Dwarven Hold's turn 2. So the Spearman unit charges the Tree Father in the center of the board, and that is his only charge. And then all the nasty things start happening. So both units of miners come on in behind my archers. They've got throwing weapons, and that is just going to hurt. Double tap, strength 4, armor piercing. Not that I've actually got armor, but that's going to be nasty. So I think they're going to cause me a few issues there. The copter that was hiding behind the building flies over, so it can also shoot at my archers. And the Vengeance Seeker moves forward so it can see past the building, and he's got a gap there to be able to charge past if he wishes to. And that's about all he did really for movement, other than his other copter flew over, dropped bombs on the Blade Dancers, killed a bunch of them, and he's going to get to shoot them as well, which is going to hurt a lot. So in Magic, he got number 6 for his Flux card, which is 6 magic dice and 5 Veil tokens. So he gets 2 for his channel as well, cashes those in, and then he goes for his Round of Bound spell. So first he goes for the reroll to hit, which we threw 4 dice at to dispel, and then he goes for a magical move, which we also dispel, and then he's able to get his reroll to hit off on his Spearman unit, and a magical move off on the bomber, which is a bit of a pain, as that's now able to fly over and drop some bombs on me, but didn't kill as many as I expected. Just killed off a couple of my archers there. But then in Shooting, he goes to town, and that unit of 14 archers is now down to just 5. They do hold though, but there's not many of them left. He only manages to kill off 1 more sentinel, which I'm reasonably happy with. I thought he might kill off more than that with his throwing weapons there, which brings us on to combat. I suspect I was a little bit lucky in this combat phase. He has bonus strength on the charge. He's got 2 runesmiths in there giving +1 armor piercing each. He did 3 wounds, but I was pretty lucky because he's got a character in there that is strength 10 against toughness 5 and above enemy, and I managed to ward save his attacks. So he didn't get any wounds off with his nasty character. He did chip off 3 wounds with the rest of his attacks, but then in return I used my crush attack on his nasty character and we splattered it in 1 turn. So I think I won combat in the end. I think he had failed his fear test, which probably also helped with not taking so many wounds. Yeah, he did. He was, yeah, rerolls to hit, but hitting on 5s, even with the reroll, he was only able to get the 3 wounds. He holds, and we go on to Sylvanel's turn 3. So we don't have any charges to make turn 3. We just maneuver around to continue shooting and try and keep as much away from the nasty things that McRae can do back in return. So our Kestrels come back onto the board. They fly over to be able to have a few bow shots either at the bomber in the wood or at the miners. The Tree Father moves back over, so he's able to shoot the bomber in the wood, get the bonus strength on our attacks there, which will be useful. The Blade Dancers move back in behind the hill, still cuddling up to the wood as well for safety there. The Sentinels passed their march test and ran around behind the bombers, not the bombers, the miners. Probably going to shoot at that Grudge Buster on the hill and try and get rid of that, because that's a significant threat there as well. And then on the other side, the Dryads and the Kestrels get ready to be able to charge at the miners or the copter that's there, and otherwise that's about it in terms of movement. In our magic phase, we rolled up number 5, which is 5 magic dice each and 9 Veil tokens for me, plus the 2 that I channel, plus the 1 that I was carrying over. Gave me a 9/5 magic phase, which was rather handy. We used a ice and fire on the copter, which I think it's the one that was right in front of the archers there, and we destroyed that. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get any other spells off. We did destroy that copter with a miscast. We rolled up, I think it was the 555, which caused a wound on my druid, but that's probably a pretty reasonable trade. So fairly happy with that. And we go on to shooting. So in shooting, the Kestrels and the Tree Father were able to shoot the copter that was in the wood there. The Sentinels managed to, along with the BSB, put 3 wounds on the Grudge Buster. Really hoped we might do a little bit more there. Actually, I missed out a spell there. We managed to get Touch the Heart off as well to heal our Tree Father, so he's back down to only having taken 2 wounds. The remaining shooting doesn't look like we did much at all with the Kestrels that were over that far side. So we go into combat, which is just the Tree Father on the Spearman unit again. So again, I go for my crush attack. He's unable to wound me this time. In return, we again hit with the crush attack, but this time we only managed to do 2 wounds rather than the 3 needed to kill his general, I think it was this time. So he took 2 wounds plus the Thunder Stomp. I won combat again, but he holds. So unfortunately, not able to break him. He did fail his fear test again, I believe. So he's hitting me once again with 5s on a reroll, hence why he was unable to wound me. And I think that brings us on to Dwarvenhold's turn 3. So turn 3, he goes for a charge with a Grudge Buster into my Mage Bunker, and as soon as I didn't kill his Grudge Buster, I knew this was likely to happen, and it's bad news. I had hoped on the stand and shoot we might pick those last 2 wounds off. Unfortunately, we only got 1. He goes into combat, and impact hits are going to mean I have very, very few attacks left back. Oh gosh, I hope I can take that last wound off him, or otherwise it's just about game over. That's a close to 1400 point unit with the general, 2 mages and sentinels. So yeah, they're really not good that they have been caught. That's going to be a big swing. In other moves, the flame cannon moves up, the small units in the back move up, and that's just about all he's really got left. The miners just turn around to shoot. In Magic, he draws Flux card 8, which is 7 dice each, and he gets 7 Veil tokens as well. So he's able to cash those in for a couple more dice. He gets his reroll to hit off again on his spare unit. He goes for the distracting on them as well, which I dispel. He puts a magical move on one of his units, but I can't remember which one it was. But I let that one go through, and then he goes for distracting again on his spearman unit, and again we block that one. So then that takes us on to shooting, and in shooting he really doesn't do much. I don't think he can't really shoot too many of my units from where he is. I think he might have shot his miners into my dryads and killed a couple of them, and that was about it. But in combat though, the Grudge Buster does not take a wound. It did 5 wounds, I believe, on my bunker unit, and they run off the board, and he pursues me off the board, so I don't even get to kill the Grudge Buster next turn. Man, that hurt so bad. I was a bit disappointed with round of shooting and Magic. I couldn't kill it. Maybe I should have gone for it rather than the Copter and the heal on the tree. I had thought I might have been okay with just the stand and shoot and killing it in combat, and the fact that it wasn't an easy charge. I want to say it was a 9 or possibly a 10 on the dice. Far enough that, yeah, I had hoped for better, but yeah, unfortunately that's the way things go, and it was a massive swing against me. In combat, the Tree Father continued to do a fantastic job. For the 3rd time in a row, McRae failed his fair test, so again he was hitting me on 5s with a reroll. Again he couldn't wound me. I finished off the character this time in combat and gained Thunderstomped, gained 1 combat, but again he holds, unfortunately. But the Tree Father now has killed the BSB and the General, so he's doing a pretty good job at holding that unit up and getting some points out of him. So maybe bit of luck here, that Tree Father might yet win that combat, break them down and get plenty of points for me. And that was the end of that turn. So we go on to Sylvan Elves turn 4. So turn 4, the Blade Dancers just shuffle backwards and prepare to take the charge of that Vengeance Seeker. Possibly I should have moved further away. I kind of backed myself that I might do okay in this combat. He's got to run into the wood, take a dangerous terrain. I can do the 3-up ward save dance and then hit him back. He's only tough 4 with a 6-up ward. We've got quite a few attacks, re-rolling 1s to wound. I kind of thought I could take that Vengeance Seeker, so I didn't move back as far as I could have. Maybe I should have run backwards further and been a bit more careful. The Kestrels and the Tree Father move over to start threatening the miners, try and pick up some points there. On the other side, the Kestrels and the Dryads both failed the charge. The miners fled, and unfortunately we needed, I think, a 7 or an 8 on the Dryads and a 9 or a 10 on the Kestrels, and both failed by 1, unfortunately. So we just shuffle forward. Now that Vengeance Seeker is in a position to be a nuisance to me. So moving on to Magic. Well, we don't have any Magic now, so we go straight on to shooting. The Tree Father and the Kestrels both put some shots into the miner unit there and chip off a few wounds. The rest of shooting, I think, is in combat. So yeah, that is all we are able to do pretty much there. In combat, yeah, the unthinkable happens. After all these turns of going so well, we go for the crush attack on the other character and we miss. So we get no wounds from that. We go for the thunder stomp and we do 1 wound. So he wins combat because he's now reformed back into regular rank and file rather than horde. So he's got his banner and he's got his 3 ranks versus my 1 wound. He wins combat. I fail my stubborn leadership 8 after all of his leadership 8s that he passed, and now I fail mine. He runs me down, and all of a sudden now that spearman unit is in a position to cut through me like a hot knife through butter, really. Can run into the dryads, kill them, overrun into the kestrels, kill them, run into the dryads after that, kill them, and I'll pretty much have nothing left. So yeah, top of turn 4 looking real grim, really. Need to pull something out that's pretty special if I'm going to bring this game back. So we go on to Dwarven Hold's turn 4. He does charge the dryads with his block of spears. Decides not to charge in with the Vengeance Seeker. The miners do rally there by the wall, and that's about it. In combat, the dryads do significantly better than I would have thought. He only manages to kill off a couple of them, and then we do lose combat, and we lose combat by a bit, but we're on a leadership 4 or leadership 3 and we pass it. So that's a massive relief, because really I had no business holding that block of spearmen up for another turn. In remaining moves, really not that much else happened. Oh, actually, sorry, I tell a lie. The Grudgebuster came up behind to do some shooting at me from behind. The miners charged the kestrels, which I thought was quite interesting, and the kestrels managed to beat them and reform so that they can now charge the Grudgebuster on the next turn. So I think that's quite a nice opportunity that I've been given there. So then that moves us on to Sylvan Elves turn 5. So turn 5 we do indeed charge the Grudgebuster. So yeah, that hopefully will get me back some points there and kind of clear that side of the board to hopefully come and save myself on the other side. The Tree Man charges the miners who flee, and unfortunately he fails to overrun by 1 inch into the spearman unit that's stuck on my dryads. That would have been fantastic if I'd been able to get into the back of them. So I've got no magic, not really any shooting. So in combat, my Blade Dancers, I think I left them out the previous turn. They did do their ward save dance and survive last turn. Only managed to put 2 wounds on the Vengeance Seeker though, so he was still alive with 1 wound. Next turn he puts all his attacks into my BSB and kills him, and then my unit in return kills the Vengeance Seeker. Yeah, not a good trade. I lose the BSB, and in return pick up 110 points or whatever a Vengeance Seeker is worth. Those guys are just so good. So yeah, but frustrating, that's the way it goes. But yeah, again, clearing that side of the board, I guess, and gives me the opportunity to possibly make use of the Blade Dancers again. And in the last combat, well, my Dryads get smashed. They have only 2 left after combat. They flee off the board. The Spearman unit fails its leadership test not to chase after me, but only runs a short distance, and basically it just gets closer to being able to charge my Dryads in the rear next turn. So moving on to Dwarven Hold's turn 4, next turn. He does charge into the rear of my Dryads. That's going to be rather painful. The miners rally and reform there by the building. They are though unable to get away from my Tree Man, who'll be able to charge the next turn. And that's about it. There's not much else left for him to be able to do. So Magic, he goes for rerolls to hit on his bunker, which I'd stop, and then he gets off distracting and a magical move on the miners, I think it was. In combat, his spearmen smash the dryads. The dryads flee, they run through the building, through his other unit as well, pop out the other side, and after dangerous terrain there is just one of them left. Be rather nice if he was able to rally, because he's sitting at this point right on top of the scenario objective. And that is the end of that. Brings us on to Sylvan Elves turn 6, and at this point I don't have much left alive. We run the Kestrels away, we run the Blade Dancers away, we charge the Tree Father into the miners. The lone Dryad scoring unit fails to rally, he keeps running, and that's all our movement. No magic again. The miners lose combat to the Tree Father. They flee through the building. I don't catch them. He only loses a few to dangerous terrain, and essentially that is the end of my turn. We go on to Dwarven Hold's turn 6. He rallies the miners. He just secures the objective, and he has a go at shooting off my Kestrels, but he's unable to inflict any wounds, and that brings us to the end of the game. Yeah, some big swings there. I think I was pretty lucky that he failed fair test after fair test on his spearman unit. I had some pretty good dice rolls early on with my magic missiles as well. So yeah, overall I had my chances, but really I think it was the luck of the dice that kept me in the game for so long. So in the end I managed to kill 2,670 points, which is not too bad. But in return we gave up 3,355 points, which gave McRae a 12-8, but he also managed to secure the secondary objective. Not very often, unfortunately, that I'm able to win that, and that pushes it out to a 15-5. So what looked like was going reasonably well after 3 turns, yeah, ended up into a reasonably big loss. Well played to McRae. He hasn't played for a few months and only had a quick glimpse at the rules before we started, but didn't really show. He had the mobile dwarven army running me in circles again and causing me all sorts of problems. I think in hindsight I was too reckless with my archers, too reckless going after the organ gun, and I probably didn't really at any point put pressure on him with my movement phase. Maybe I should have backed my Blade Dancers, double trees, double Kestrels, double Dryads, all to push forward and maybe put some pressure on him, but I've just had so many bad experiences with Dwarven shooting that I just had a feeling I might get shot off the board if I did that. But yep, well, we will see. But hope that gave you an insight as to what changes you might have in store for 2.0. Just remembering that some of these rules are possibly going to change. They're still a work in progress. Have only touched on some of the rules. There's a lot of other items and rules to do with line of sight and things that I haven't really covered much in here, even though we were playing the line of sight rules and they did impact on the game quite a lot. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this insight into 2.0. Hope you've enjoyed the battle, and yeah, look forward to seeing you on the table for 2.0 open beta testing coming out very soon. Exciting times for the 9th Age. Well done to everyone who's been involved in updating these rules, bringing things into a new modern era. A lot of exciting stuff. I think my favourite so far is the new magic phase. The magic flux is very, very cool. The little options you got with the veil tokens are also quite cool. So I hope that people are really going to get involved and really give 2.0 a really good try, and post lots of feedback that the developers can make use of. So thanks for watching, folks. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.